We could do both.
Could do both.
Oh, we're going to do a six-pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, six pack. Let's do both.
Let's do both.
We're doing both. What's up, everybody? It's Ivan with Trouts Fly Fishing. Back 5 flies for June. As always, joined by Tanner Smith.
What's up?
And from the depths of spreadsheet hell, old Richard Mikesell.
It's very nice to see the sunlight.
Yeah, great sunlight in
Yes.
here. Great sunlight in here. So Rick is our warm water guru here. We're going to be talking about warm water fly fishing, bass, carp, panfish, muskie, pike, and the like. Also a great time to fish for trout. Rick, what do you like about June, July as a month for warm water fishing?
It's consistent. Most of the spawn cycles are over. Temps are normalizing. Things are getting warm to hot, which warm water species enjoy. It's just from now until September, there's fish to be caught, and you can find them, and you don't have to worry about a bunch of weird weather or seasonal nuances. It's just fun fishing.
Yeah. Still waters, moving water, it's all
all in play, and it's all good.
Nice. Tanner, what do you like about warm water fishing this time of year?
Yeah, Rick nailed it. Consistency, I think, temperatures are consistent. It's warm at night. It's warm during the day. There's not crazy snowstorms coming that change everything, crazy rain that's
Let's hope not.
knocking stuff out. Yeah, I mean, let's hope not for sure. But yeah, predictability. It's, you can predict good times. If you're Rick, it's always good for you and me.
Right, we need
all the juju,
Right.
So we need like the cool mornings, like the
bump set spike for
yeah,
us.
the nice evenings, stripping some stuff along some cattail lines, and boom, we got a bass. Exactly how you draw it up. But we need the basic stuff.
So it's a great time to be out there for warm water. It's also a good time to be out there for the trout.
Yeah.
Runoff's coming to an end here in the next couple weeks. Tanner, what do you like about? We're going to do 5 flies for warm water this month. We're also going to do a little bit bonus flies here shortly. What do you like about the cold water species this time of year?
Oh, there's water, so that's the biggest thing. I'm a big fan of rivers being full.
You're a big fan of water?
Water, yes.
Wow.
Nice cold water.
That's sick.
Anytime, like we talk all the time, peak flow's coming down, that water's clearing up, big bugs are active. Great time to be fishing big chubbies, great time to be fishing big stimulators with super simple nymphs on the bottom. Pheasant tails, copper johns. You don't have to overthink because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Food's everywhere. Great time for streamers. Freestones too. I would be fishing your freestones as much as possible on the come down, your Eagles, your Arkansas, your Colorado rivers, but also ideally we get some bumps in our tailwaters too, so you can go fish deckers at 350.
I've heard rumors that they're going to keep deckers Blow Cheeseman around there for the next couple weeks.
Right.
Obviously 80 is not optimal, but when it bumps, it will be It'll be cool.
Yeah.
But although Josh Diller, shout out to the Dill Dog, he was saying that they were eating hoppers there on a guide trip earlier this week. So
tailwater trout. Everyone who's gotten their butt kicked in Cheeseman in the wintertime with 6X and size 22s, when Cheeseman gets to 500, 600, 700, and you can throw 2X and a Pat's rubber legs and a size 8 chubby Chernobyl, and they backflip for it. It's pretty special.
It's about as good as it gets. Yeah, tailwaters get easier. Honestly, You'll still want to think you need the size 24 top secret midge, but
the reason
you're probably not catching fish is because you're going too small. You need to actually be sizing up in the high tailwaters as well.
So we're entering prime time for both trout and warm water species, which is always nice to be in prime time. We're going to get to the flies here shortly, but first shout out to Umpqua and Rising, as always, providing the gear for our question and answer giveaway. So if you drop a comment down below, your question gets picked for the next show. So for the July show, you'll get a prize pack with stuff from both Umpqua and Rising. So shout out to those guys. If you have any questions about July fishing, drop them down below, and we'll pick the best couple. We usually pick 2 or 3 every month. So, been getting some good questions. Keep it up, guys. Always appreciate that. What are we missing? Oh, you know what we are missing? I forgot to record the first take of this episode. I'm surprised you didn't mention that.
We're going to let you slide.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, guys. All right, so never mind.
We've actually been sitting here for about 35 minutes.
Yeah. 21 minutes.
Recording things that were not actually being recorded. So
the first take was probably funnier than this take. So
if it's not that entertaining, this is my fault because we wasted all our great jokes.
Yeah,
on the first take.
We had some good dad jokes in there, and now we don't have any of that. Oh well,
it's my bad.
I think you need to tell it
yet again.
Joke. Yeah.
You need to tell a dad joke?
To make up for the lost humor.
Dude, I don't have any dad jokes. Like, I have no dad jokes. I am becoming like the stereotypical dad. I put in some sod, which I know, a little bit controversial in these low water times, but put in some sod, and like every morning I just like have an imaginary cup of coffee, and I just open the window and look at it so proud.
He gets up and he slides into his long inseam jean shorts.
Right.
Puts on his Nike Air Monarchs.
Yep.
Grass stains perfectly aligned right around the cusp.
Yep.
Sees the neighbors out there. He pops out to give him a wave.
Peek out the window. Like, hey. I look at the side, like so proud. You see a little like one strand of like brown grass. Where'd that come from?
Greg's taking
get some more water on that.
Greg's taking his trash can down. You like pop out with your coffee. Hey, Greg. Hey, neighbor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's me right now. That's me right now. I'm like
just got my sod laid. How you look? How's it looking?
I'm getting text from all of them. Like, sod looks great, Ivan. Sod looks great. So, enough sod talk. Let's get to the flies. Fly number 1, Rick.
Fly number 1. The one fly to rule them all. The tungsten jig bugger. Umpqua feather merchants, Lance Egan, sparkle, marabou, heavy tungsten bead, jiggy dance in action.
Tanner, you're familiar with woolly buggers. We talked about it with Russ.
Yes.
Do you have any more things to talk about with the woolly buggers?
Woolly buggers should always be in play. For not warm water experts like me, I can't overthink the warm water stuff. So it's like flashy, gets down, I can strip it. Looks like everything that the fish are probably eating, at least one type of fish. Yeah. Woolly buggers.
Can look like a bait fish, can look like a
leech, can look like a crayfish.
Fry, crayfish.
Everything, you can
crayfish.
Fish it a bunch of different ways too. I mean, pop it, strip it fast, let it sink, kind of jig it. Yeah, I mean.
And to Rick's point,
good fly to create your own action.
Rick noted that it has a tungsten head, and that thing plonks.
Yep.
It ploops.
Ploop.
Good ploop.
I don't catch carp on that thing because I'm carp not good.
I've seen you catch carp.
I'm carp not good.
I've seen you one time.
Hi, I'm Tanner, and I'm carp not good.
For the DSP with flows and current and things that you have to get past, the heavy tungsten bead makes a big difference. Yeah. But I mean, this thing works everywhere. Just in the last month alone, we've caught carp, smallmouth bass, largemouth bass. I was with Josh Diller and his son Rhett, Tiny Caster, out at a wiper lake, and Rhett smoked a giganto wiper on a very small white version of this.
Shout out to Rhett.
What's up, Rhett?
Go Rhett.
Catfish, trout, rainbows, browns, brookies, they all eat it. They all like it.
Suckers.
Yeah, I caught a sucker on it the other day too.
Shout out to Suckers Fly Fishing.
Suckers Fly Fishing.
Don't let it die.
Yeah. It's still alive. You never know. It's always there waiting just in case. Just in case we have to throw the big rebrand on there.
It's who we are on our insides.
Right. It's our artistic.
Yeah.
It's our spirit animal.
Yeah, our spirit
Trouts is our accepted self, but we want to be suckers.
Yeah.
But anyway, if it swims, the tungsten jiggy bugger will catch it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's true. You can probably catch a bonefish on that thing.
I think that's a challenge, Ivan.
Just have to set up a bonefish trip. No big deal.
Yeah. Easy. Not many logistics in that.
No, I'll be fine. I can make that a day trip.
Next weekend.
Yeah.
Sunday? Sure.
Yeah, once I water the lawn a couple times, I'll just head down to Florida and catch a bonefish and then head back.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think I'm going to put it on my schedule real quick. Cool. There's fly number 1. Fly number 2, Rick. What do you got in that box?
Fly number 2. We're going to go with our good friend Daryl Eakins' Hipster doofus. The Hipster doofus.
A.K.A. Daryl Angler.
Daryl's the man.
Yeah.
The Hipster doofus is kind of the opposite of the jiggy bugger. We're talking about how important weight is. If you need to get heavy, lots of weight. If you need to stay high in the water column or have a slow, sexy sink, the Hipster doofus is your ace. Daryl is a very smart man. He is a very thoughtful man. He has engineered...
A learned man.
A scholar.
Learned scholar.
When he drinks his tea, he uses only 4 fingers and keeps that pinky up.
I'll do that while I'm holding the fly on Daryl's behalf. This fly it probably has more engineering into it than the drivetrain of my car. The sink rate is taken into account.
I think that counts as a dad joke, so we're going to put that up there. We'll do a dad joke.
Cha-ching.
Yeah.
It has a thin profile, so it cuts through the water column. It sinks slow and sexy. It's got CDC to get air bubbles. It rides perfectly hook up. He has the lift kit engineering, kind of pioneered by Jay Zimmerman. This thing is deadly for carp in still water or high in the water column. This thing catches panfish. This thing it would be a great ant or beetle pattern for trout. It's a good fly, Daryl. Thanks for bringing it to this world.
So, sort of off that point a little bit, but I know Tanner will make fun of me for this, but you said ant or beetle pattern. Something that people don't do when they are fishing for trout is drown their ants or beetles,
right?
Or hoppers. You can drown those and fish will smack them. So that would be a great little dropper.
Well, in real life, if you're an ant or a beetle, you're not going to last too long on top of the water column.
Right. So when they get, throwing that below like a little chubby Chernobyl, I would imagine that would catch a fish or two. But yeah, Daryl's the man. He's we still have 2 more fly tying episodes to release from his. But as you guys know, if you're fans of the YouTube channel, his last one was an hour long. He is, as Rick noted, a learned man, thoughtful man, but he's also a verbose man. He likes words. Big fan of words and lots of them. I thought the last the first episode we did was awesome. It was just an hour long. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but the man has thought about everything, about how many wraps, about how to treat this material, and I thought it was really cool to get insight into his brain as he sort of constructs those things, because they are in many ways like engineered flies. They're not just sort of thrown together. He's thinking about everything. What sounds they produce when they land, what sounds they produce as they fall. That's above my pay grade as an angler. But it's
sitting down with Daryl and tying. I learned more in an hour and a half, 2 hours tying with him than I've learned 4 or 5 years of tying on my own, because he's already put the time in to think these things through.
The guy is a sponge, because he's been tying, I think, for only for 5 years, but there's people who fly fish for 5 years, and there's people who fly fish for 30 years, and there's people who can fly fish in 5 years who are doing it in a very deliberate way and are doing it a lot, who have more experience than the person who's done it for 30 years. I think Daryl's the same way in fly tying, where it's he has leaned on Charlie, on Jay, on he goes to steelhead people. He goes to all realms of the fly tying world to sort of build that build stuff into his patterns, and I think his stuff is super cool. So shout out to Daryl. And
Umpqua's picked up a bunch of his patterns, so they'll be available nationwide soon, which is great. If you're in Wisconsin or somewhere in the upper Midwest, you can fish a Daryl Eakins pattern, which is, if they haven't seen them before, they're extra grabby on them.
Right. Always good. Tanner, you want to add anything?
No, you guys are good.
Sick.
Nailed it.
Fly number 3.
Let's go 3.
We're going to stay on the dad train with Father's Day this weekend.
Let's get a dad joke real quick.
This is...
is that a mayfly? You got a blue-wing olive hatch?
Look like a caddis.
Blue-wing olive hatch in the studio.
Look like a caddis.
Oh, all right, I'll give you my go-to dad joke. I'm sure you've both heard it before, but you'll get it again. So, Ivan, what time does Sean Connery go to Wimbledon?
I don't know.
Tennis.
I've not heard that. That's pretty good.
That is good.
That's a good Sean Connery joke.
Ivan's a dad. He's a crazy dad.
Noted dad.
And he's got lots of fish on this. What do you think about the crazy dad, Ivan?
I have. I've caught fish, both still waters and moving water, mostly carp on this fly. It was deadly on Sloan's Lake for me a couple years ago. It has those lead eyes, so it gets down in the column. And then obviously has those rubber legs. And who doesn't love rubber legs? Fish and anglers alike like rubber legs.
Action.
Sort of, they add that little extra zhuzh, a little extra spice, a little extra movement that gets the fish to say maybe. So, a huge fan of the Crazy Dad. Tanner, you like the Crazy Dad?
Absolutely. I think an underrated strip fly too in your still waters. So I think that's a productive bass pattern, bait or panfish pattern, smallmouth. You know, I think that's a fly that again imitates a lot of things. You can fish in a lot of different ways. It sinks great. It strips, gives you good action if you are stripping it back to you. You can crawl it, along bottoms, pop it up and down. It'll give it, those rubber legs just give it action any way you kind of fish it. So yeah, very productive.
And what you'll see in a lot of these warmwater patterns is the hook point rides up, right? Yeah. Same with Daryl's flies, like these jig flies, the Crazy Dad, hook point rides up. Less places to hang up on, and then this will sort of stand on its head a little bit, and then not quite like some other flies, but allows you to sort of work it along the bottom and not get hung up. Give it a nice natural presentation. So
the smallmouth bass fishing in the river the past 2 years, especially this year, has been insane. The fish are everywhere. They're big, they're feisty, they're gorgeous. And all of our shop guys, Jack and Scott, on breaks for lunch and before and after, they've all just been smoking just gorgeous smallmouth bass. And
I know put some sensual jazz music to that when you described those smallmouth.
Some Kenny G.
Yeah.
They have been good looking though.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, smallmouth are a good looking fish.
Insanely big for
I mean, really big. But this is Jack's favorite smallmouth pattern. He smoked some really nice smallmouth on this guy. I always find it tied onto the shop rod when I come back in after the weekend. Little chunks of lip left on it.
Right. Yeah. How long are those breaks he's taking when he's going to?
Who's taking the breaks?
Jack.
Some people's are longer than other people's. We won't mention anyone.
The flies are on the water tested. Right?
Exactly. If you're fishing, it's not a break. You could argue that you're working. So
yes, one of the few benefits of working the fly fishing industry.
Yes, and we have the river right up back. Why would we not be out there all the time?
It is. It's a really great break spot. It is beautiful. Right. It's full of fish. Yeah. It's fishing better than it ever has been. We're really lucky to have that resource.
Right.
Huh? Plus 8th Street Bridge is back open. Let's go. Yes. That's always nice.
No more muck. No more bulldozer muck in the water.
That's right. Cool. We're going to get to the question and answer portion, and then we're going to wrap it up with probably 3 more flies. So we make it a 6-pack.
6 flies?
So we make it a 6-pack.
6-pack.
Plus, right now, I don't know if I remember to do this, but I didn't put up the 5 cold water trout flies for the month. So we're going to put them up right here with some super cool, sick footage.
What's 11? Is that like a non-baker's dozen? Since 13 is a baker's dozen?
Yeah.
It's a butcher's dozen?
Yeah, butcher's dozen.
Mechanic's dozen.
Okay, yeah.
Who are notably thieves in their professions? Always selling you short.
Used car salesman?
Yeah, used cars with salesman dozen right there.
Yeah.
11 flies.
Be the Spinal Tap dozen.
Shout out to all the used car salesmen. If you are one, I'm sorry we slandered your profession. I'm sure you're an honorable guy.
Yeah.
Or lady. Whatever. So, all right, there's the flies right here. All right. Here to the question and answer portion. As always, big thanks to Umpqua and Rising for the prize pack stuff. Put your comments down below if you have questions about July fishing. And if we pick yours, we typically pick 2 to 3. You get the prize pack or a prize pack with stuff from both of those guys. So big shout out to those guys for the love and support. It's always good to have love and support. As a dad, I feel like
that's the pinnacle of dadliness.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect.
Love, support, and a very well manicured lawn.
Yes.
That's right.
And as a single person with no kids, love and support for thyself.
Right. Look. You got to be a father to yourself sometimes. So we're going to start off. We have 3 questions picked. The first one's from Colin David. And I think this question can be answered in trout-centric way and also in a warm water-centric way. So we're gonna let it rip. I always have some success with attractor patterns. How do I know when to move from an attractor pattern to an imitation pattern to try and get more numbers? Also, how do I know which imitation to switch to? Tanner, Thoughts?
Am I doing the warm water or the trout part? I'll do the trout part.
We could flip it up.
I'm a huge fan of attractors. I think especially like this time of the year, it's versatility is going to be key. I think you might be catching more fish than if you're trying to match an exact hatch. The only time I'm switching away from attractors is if I'm not getting action on them, and then you're seeing fish totally keyed in onto one bug. Like if you go to a river right now, you're going to see mayfly and caddis hatches, yellow sallies, all mixed in, overlapping each other. If you think the fish are rising to a certain thing, it's going to be tough to key in on that exact bug. So stuff that kind of has the size shape of, two of those different things, like a bigger dry fly to maybe like an emerging mayfly, pheasant tail type thing. So I'm a tractor pattern all the way. I think that could be the most productive, especially if you're following water. If you are set on fish that are locked into certain bugs, that's going to be a blanket hatch. You're not seeing any, if you're seeing only caddis flying around, you're not seeing anything mixed in. You're seeing only PMDs, you're seeing only, and you'll see those in droves. So you'll see fish keyed in on, like if it's a mayfly hatch, it's probably going to be in a back eddy, softer water, and you're just going to see noses. If it's, and then I'd be switching to that for sure. Throwing your caddis in there's probably not going to get as many takes, but caddis are going to be sporadic eats. They're going to be eating across all sections of water. Yeah. And then maybe I'm taking the mayfly off and going to a caddis. But for the most part, the attractors do a good job in the summer because they cover all those bases. So unless you see one type of bug, they're locked into that, then I'm going to switch to two different stages of that. But that's about the only time that I'm switching. Technical, you'll see it more on tailwaters. I don't think it's as necessary on your bigger free zones. But
I think it also depends on what river, what river you're fishing, right? So like
deckers, they will be keyed in on. They go through phases. Like in the morning, they will be on like a top secret midge only, and then throughout the day, you might see them eating only caddis dry flies. And you could try blueing olives, but your free stones, I think, is.
It also can be time dependent, right? So like, you might have the PMDs midday, and then like maybe you have the drakes coming off at the end of the day, and caddis all throughout. And so like, I would advise for Colin, like, power of observation, not only when you're looking at your bugs, but then like taking a step back and watching what's happening on the river and seeing what kind of rise forms you're seeing. Like obviously subsurface, it's a little bit more of a guessing game, but if you're seeing a splashy rise, like that's probably a caddis.
And I mean, and it's just,
if it's like a more deliberate
I'd say
rise,
throughout the West too, like fish have their favorite flies. Like a mayfly, like a green drake, I feel trout eat those more than any other mayfly. So if I see 10 big drakes mixed in with PMDs,
I'm throwing a drake.
Right. They want that fly more. It seems like, So
I mean, there's some rivers that have green drakes in them, and you could not see a single adult insect. Right. But it's mid-July, and that there's green drakes on that river. I still throw an adult drake, and fish light it up.
Right.
Yeah, you'll see caddis flying, and it's like you'll see like intermittent drakes mixed in, and you're like, I bet you every fish that's rising is eating drakes. Right. So. Yeah.
I think also observation like when you're if you're like saying throwing, like if you're throwing one attractor fly and then that's it, like throw a trailer on there, like throw a chubby Chernobyl or a stimulator and then throw like a parachute Adams, a Parawolf behind it, and then if you're not getting eats on that, switch that out and then put on a bigger mayfly, like maybe a PMD size mayfly, and maybe put on like a clown shoe caddis or something like that, like. Mix up what attractor flies you're putting on, because those are still attractor flies. Like a Parawolf's still an attractor fly, but like mix up those things, because in the summertime, from my perspective, you're just trying to get close. Right. You're trying to get in the vicinity of what they want. Right. Like this is sort of the time when they're like indiscriminate a little bit.
If you see a bug on the water and you don't have that bug in your box, if you have something that's the same size, fish will probably eat it.
Right? Yeah. Size, shape, and color, right? But I mean, like if you're asking that question for like fall, and you're talking about midges versus bluing olives, and they're still eating hoppers, like there's a little bit of feel that goes into that, and trying to figure out rise forms, and like trying to figure out what the bugs are actually doing on the surface of the water. But
if there's tricos hatching, you need to find a trico.
You just go somewhere else,
and you need to get the tiniest scissors and make your trico fly look identical in every way, shape, or form.
Give up and burn that river to the ground.
And then set the hook on like 9 rises that aren't your trico, because you can't see your trico.
Big fan of tricos.
Tricos.
Yeah. Rick, what are your thoughts in the warm water realm?
Well, the good news about the warm water realm is they're all attractors. Yeah. We're not really batching super hatches. Warm water fish are successful because they are diverse feeders and they take advantage of opportunity and they expend fewer calories while taking advantage of that opportunity. Hence the reason that most warm water fish are bigger. There are times when specific things will get keyed in on things, particularly for pelagic stuff like wiper and white bass. If your forage minnows are 2.5 inches, your fly needs to be 2.5 inches. Yeah, right. Talking to like the swim bait guys in the conventional world and like the California glory days, they stocked rainbow trout, I think at like initially 8 or 9 inches, and they were throwing 8 or 9 inch swim baits and catching those bass. And then to reduce trout mortality, they started stocking them at 10 to 12 inches. And within like 2 to 3 days, the bass stopped eating the 8 to 9 inch swim baits and only would eat the 10 to 12 inch swim baits. Right. So if there's an abundant source of food, you definitely need to make it look like that food. But if there's not a really distinct abundant source of food, just fish it with confidence and fish it well. And those fish know like they need calories to survive. If it looks like food, they're going to eat it.
If you get a refusal on with a carp and you're in the zone it's not like you're not in the zone. They saw the fly and said, no, thank you. And then you saw another carp and he said, no, thank you. What are you doing in that regard?
So with carp specifically, it's presentation. Yeah. My opinion is that if I present it well without them seeing me and spooking and make it look like food, and it's kind of something they may have eaten in the past, and they're a positive fish, they're going to eat. Yeah. So fly changes are pretty rare. First thing I'll do is change the way I'm presenting. I'll either put it closer or put it a little further away, make sure that I'm not being seen. A lot of times if you're getting a refusal, it's just not a positive fish. And that's the important kind of early stages of carp fishing is choosing your fish. If it's not a positive fish, you could do everything perfect and it's still not going to eat. Yeah. And then it's going to spook and it's going to spook all the other fish in the pod. So don't waste your time. Find one that's tail up, face down, mouth moving. If you don't see that white of that mouth moving, probably not worth casting to it. But there are times when they're not on stuff. And after you get a couple refusals, try something different. Usually if you're getting refusals, I go more muted. But it's not often that I have to change flies.
So don't be a head case.
No, don't overthink it. I mean, the only reason I'd be changing flies is if it's soft current and the fly's too splashy, I need to size down my weight. If it's heavy current and the fly's not getting down in the pocket, I need to increase my weight.
Yeah. Cool. So appreciate the question, Colin. The second question is from Ed Peter. This is a carp specific fishing question. He says, I'm totally blanking on fly fishing for carp. Yeah, my casting sucks. I know, but I could use some advice. What flies would you recommend for a novice like me in this situation?
We kind of already started this conversation on this. Fly doesn't matter that much. Right. If it looks like something they've eaten, they're going to eat it if you present it well. So the more important questions are they positive fish? Are they getting a sense of you or seeing you? And how are you presenting it? Again, the biggest mistake is targeting fish that aren't actively eating. If their mouth is closed, if they're moving fast without purpose, if they're not eating, they're not eating. They're not gonna eat, and it's a hope and a prayer to get them to eat. Sometimes it happens. Every rule gets broken in fishing, but most of the time it's not going to.
What would be like the 3 things that you look at to identify a feeding fish?
Number 1 is mouth moving. So they have the projectile mouths that drop down, and there's a big white line between the bottom lip and the top lip. If you're seeing white on the mouth, whether it's moving fast or moving slow or tailing or clooping, that mouth is going, that fish is eating, that's a catchable fish. Yeah. The best happy fish are tailers. They're the easiest to feed. They're focused down on the substrate. You can get away with more stuff up top. If they're face down in the mud, that's a positive fish. So
if you see them sort of like zigzagging a little bit.
Yeah, right? Moving with purpose. They're not sitting still. If they're just sitting still on the bottom, I mean, they're regulating body temp. They're not eating. They're just trying to reduce calorie burn because there's not enough food around, or it's too cold or too hot or whatever.
They're watching the avalanche.
Watching the Avs.
Let's go.
Yeah, go Avs. They're going to win.
We want to go to parade. I want to go to parade.
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty cool.
It'd be a good parade.
So, third feeding fish.
So third, I got Stanley Cup eyes right now. I got to get back on fishing. So then you got cloopers, and cloopers are pulling down from the surface. They're not necessarily breaking the surface. They're not eating dry flies, because if they break the surface, they're going to take air into their swim bladder, and they're going to change their buoyancy and get more buoyant or less buoyant. We have a bunch of carp videos you guys can watch. We talk at length about this. But they're not breaking the surface. They're sucking down from the surface film. That's a great fish to catch, but they're looking up so they can see you. So if you're have too many false casts, or you're wearing too bright of a shirt, or you step wrong, they're going to spook. Third positive fish is the cruiser, the one that's mouth moving but still moving mid-column. It's not a super high conversion ratio on those fish, but those are the best eats. Those are the ones that move to eat flies. They chase it down. When they're really positive in mid-column, that's the cool, exciting eats. They actually, most carp only move 4, 5, 6 inches to eat a fly, if that. Whereas those cruisers, they'll move 2, 3 feet, which is in the carp world insane, and it's really exciting. Yeah. If you're struggling with carp, yes, you should practice casting, because being a good caster helps with accuracy, and being a good caster helps with all fly fishing. When we signed up to be fly anglers, because it was challenging and exciting, and it pushed our limits, and casting is part of that. Just go practice casting.
Tanner's dad just made him do it.
Yeah. Cast, Tanner.
Forced. Yeah, he was forced.
No dessert until you finish your casting.
Watch your back cast, Tanner. Oh my God. I hate willows.
But yeah, you should practice casting. Casting is part of fly fishing. It's beautiful, it's fun, and as you explore more diverse species, saltwater, etc., being a good caster, just catch more fish. But in the carp world, particularly in the DSP, you don't need to make super long casts if you're good at being sneaky. If you want to do something else to further your DSP fishing, do some American Ninja Warrior training, or some ballet. Learn how to sneak up on a fish quietly so they don't see it.
I was going to say, almost like a longer cast on DSP is almost more of a deterrent, because there's more things that can go wrong.
So much harder.
It's like your fly is going to pull out of the zone. It's going to do something that scares the fish. It's just like
as little line on the water as possible.
I mean, the highest conversion ratio from presentation to eat is when I can sneak up on a fish and be a rod's length away and just drop it on his nose. There's no overhead cast to spook him. I have a ton of control over the fly, and I'm close, so I can see the eat, and I know when to set. So the less casting, I think catching a carp on a long cast is super fun, and it's really exciting, but it's not the most effective way to get close to them.
Talk to me about the 3 types of fish or types of carp that you see people cast at that aren't good.
Big balls of carp when they're like right behind the shop. There's a pool that we always see people fishing. That's a great smallmouth hole, but it's not a great carp catching hole because it's a retreat and recovery hole. When people call and ask for spots, carp aren't spot adjacent. They don't sit in holes unless they're recovering or resting. And when you see a bunch of them that are always in the same spot, they know that's a safe place that they can recover. If you cast into that big ball, firstly, none of those fish are eaten. And second of all, carp emit a stress pheromone when they're spooked that puts all the other fish in the area down. So you start casting at a fish with 10 other fish around, it spooks, it emits that stress pheromone, then you just blew all your shots, even the ones on the edges that could be feeding. That's not a good fish to cast to. That fish you blew a cast on and he's rocketing it upstream as fast as he can, don't bother making another cast. Unless you're fishing a competition and you have to irk one out, maybe you'll get a Hail Mary, but it's highly unlikely that fish is going to eat. And then the last 2 are really hot or really cold fish. In the wintertime, they'll glue themselves to the bottom. They'll get out of the current and they'll just maintain as many calories and keep their metabolism as low as possible. Or if it's a crazy hot 110-degree day and you're walking your favorite pond and they're just floating in the top of the water column, just hovering there, those fish aren't eating. They're just regulating body temp. All you're going to do is spook them and blow up all the fish that could be eating.
Yeah. I feel like that was the big thing for me when I first started fly fishing for carp was like I found success when I started figuring out which fish were actually worth casting to. Because I would waste so much time casting at fish that just clearly, now looking back, I was going to catch.
You see like
never going to catch.
10 coming at you, you're like, oh, dude, it's on. And it's like, and they just like cruise right on by.
Like those fish are doing something.
I didn't have a chance at all.
I mean, the best chances, like
what did I do wrong?
Single fish are great because they're single fish and there's no other fish to spook around. Groups of 2 and 3 are the best because there's not a big group to spook, but there's some competition involved, and they'll get a little more grabby because they know there's a chance the other one will grab you. Once you get past 3 or 4 fish, then your chances go way down again because they're just going to spook on each other.
The other thing that I think is big is like covering ground, right? Like you have to see a lot of fish to not only like get a lot of practice presenting flies, but also just to find the fish that are ready to eat.
Right. And they're not always or ever in the same place. Like I'll find fish walking stretches of river that I've walked for 15 years. Well, they'll be like, I've never seen a fish there, but there's one just tailing as hard as humanly possible. They go where food is. They're not going to sit there and wait for food to come to them. So walking and looking for fish rather than just stopping at the same single hole every single time, that's how you're going to increase your catch rate.
They're foragers. Right.
Yeah. They're hunting.
Yeah, I mean, we look in the back, and some days we'll see like 6 fish lined up across, all just tailing, and then like you'll go back there an hour later and won't see a single fish,
one.
You know, it's like they're moving around. It's insane.
Yeah.
You know? I need about 100 shots in the river to get like 1 or 2 eats. Rick needs about 4.
Yeah, I just do it a lot more than
101.
Depends on how Yvonne's
depending on
brain is.
My mentals are.
He could do one in like 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, if my mentals are clear, I might knock it out in 2. But
you got to think about it like a baseball batting average. If you're like mid 3s, then you're an all-star. If you're high 2s, then you're doing pretty good. Right. No one's batting 1,000.
Yeah, no. If you're below the
true.
Mendoza line, you're still not doing the worst, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, like
you're still catching them.
Right.
I mean, what's the league minimum right now?
The league minimum if you're in the MLB?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be like 800,000
yeah, I mean,
a million or something like that.
If you catch a couple fish in a day, then you're at least making $800,000. You're
Dude, that'd be
good.
sick. I'd love that.
Right.
Why can't they pay carp anglers like they play Major League Baseball players?
Let's build some stands
Right.
along the DSP, start selling tickets, and then show up at certain times.
Right.
Then someone's going to like cheer with the air horn and every fish in the river is going to spook.
And then maybe you can put out like a guitar box and
watch me catch a carp.
Watch you catch a carp, and then maybe you can play the bass or something, and like you can figure it out in your brain. Like I got paid to catch those carp.
I'm going to get a Sim Solar Flex with my Cash App QR code
there
on
we
the
go.
back.
Yeah, dude, that's a great.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, Cash App for tips. All right, cool. So thank you for that question. Much appreciated, Ed. The last question, and we'll reach out to you for your info to get the prize specs out. Last question is from Andrew Jorgensen. His question is, what factors do you consider the most when planning your day on the water? For example, CFS, so flow, air water temp, barometric pressure, clarity, etc. He said, thanks, you guys. Love the show. So shout out. Tanner.
I think this time of year, I'm checking CFS charts first because water's probably going to be pretty high, or our tailwaters have been up, down, up, down, up, down. So you definitely don't want to be fishing the tailwaters like right when the changes are happening. So keep that in mind. And then
Usually get like how many days? Like 1 or 2?
yeah, probably like 2.
I'm a 2-day guy.
2-day guy.
Is that for up and down?
I like the move up.
I feel like
the move up, I might give it a day.
I feel like
down,
fishing during the up is good.
It can be, yes.
Can be good. Yes.
Fishing during the drop is never good.
Yeah, it's like you're like, wow, there's no fish at
Not a
Deckers.
fan. Which is weird because on Freestones, the drop is amazing.
Right.
Love the drop.
Right,
on
yeah.
the rise, it's like, it's a little touchy.
I think your drop on the freestone signifies everything. The water's warming up. You know,
It's clearing.
It's clearing.
Right.
You know, so all those things as we come through June, July. CFS basically dictates water temperature, dictates water clarity, dictates the moon cycle and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's dropping right now, it's clearing up. The water's warming up because it's not as much cold snow melt, all that stuff. So that means more bugs. That means all that stuff. So CFS is what I'm checking first, and then usually everything else kind of follows that. So because
weather,
if our tailwaters are dropping in flows, that water's getting warmer. You know, almost to the point where it's going to get too hot. If it's going up, that water is getting colder. We want the water colder on the tailwaters. Yeah. We want the water a little bit warmer on the freestone. So
you know what the hatches be happening.
Right.
CFS first. Rick, how do you plan your day?
Weather is a big deal.
Yeah.
Weather's a really big deal. Consistent warm weather is always good, but even better is approaching front and into the leading edge of the front. Most warm water fish are stimulated into feeding by frontal activity. So those like summer rainstorms in the afternoon, if I know a rainstorm's going to roll through, I'm trying to sneak out of work early, or I'm planning that I'm going to go fish during the leading edge of that rain. usually the tailing edge of the front, it tends to taper off, but there's something that stimulates those fish. They know something's changing. They're going to take advantage of that limited window. And I'm a big moon phase guy. I'm really into lunar phases. All fish were saltwater fish essentially at one time. They all have those
deep
vestigial leanings to react. And bait fish and crayfish react to moon cycles as well. I mean, me and the good buddy James Ryan were bass fishing last night. It was a full moon. I knew the zenith of the full moon was right around midnight, right around 11:20, 11:30, right as it was starting to get towards that zenith. The bass just turned on, and we had made 5 or 6 laps before nothing, and then as soon as we started getting towards zenith, the bass were on. Full moons are great for bass. They're really good for carp in the DSP. Particularly when you have
for occult activity, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Strange occult activity. The full moons are good for a lot of things. Full moons are not, however, great for trout fishing, I hear.
I think I've been convinced by my experience that it's a no moon kind of thing. Yeah, new moon is the thing because you get more contrast.
We lost something.
We lost that one. That's okay though. We still have this one.
All right.
Oh, God. Another camera's out.
No, that one can only record for 30 minutes. One can record forever.
All right.
But moons make a difference. New moons for topwater. For if you want to go throw frogs for bass, new moons are a great time. And for pike, before moonrise and after moonset. It's an old kind of Midwestern adage, and I see it time and time again. Like even if it's a daytime moonrise, you'll be whacking fish, and all of a sudden you'll see that moon peek up over the horizon, and the bite will just stop.
Yeah. So noted moon guy, noted CFS guy.
Mix the two together, and you were going to be deadly out.
Throw a little weather.
I'm a big weather guy.
Twist of weather.
Yeah. I'm a big weather guy. I don't
weather
always
actually
check the weather, but
that has to be a major factor as well. You know?
Especially if I'm planning trips in the spring and fall, because I'm trying to get clouds.
Take example, like this weekend, it's going to be less than 10 mile per hour winds and cloudy and rainy in South Park, and it's like Antero and Spinney are going to be fire.
I think winds probably factor into our conversations when we're planning a trip more than even just rain.
There's really no way to forecast wind anymore, though. I mean, you'll look at the app and it will say 10 to 12 miles an hour, and you'll get there and it'll be 45 to 70.
2022 has really screwed up the wind forecast.
And sometimes I just remember it used to be like you check wind, like 15, you go there and it'd be like 8. Now it's never like the good way anymore. It's like you go there and it is, instead of 15, it's 30. And you're like, dude, why can't I get the positive wind break where the wind's not blowing as bad? You know, those have been, thanks a lot, 2022.
Shout out to the meteorologists who are out there just screwing that forecast up. Thanks a lot, guys.
Apple Weather, you are horrible.
Weather Bug, Weather Underground, you even stink.
Yeah. Weather.com.
I've been using the federal weather, whatever the weather fed thing. They're okay. They still stink.
I mean, I think the best weatherman is you standing out there on the river.
Right, it's really windy.
Yeah, right.
It's going to rain.
Yeah. But I mean, you want a certain amount of wind if you're fishing the still waters. Right. So like, that has certainly shaped days. Like, hey, we're going to have good enough temps, but the wind's going to be good where it's not like super still. Right. It's going to add some chop. That's a good way to plan the day.
Yeah, like 8 to 15
another thing where it's like, there's going to be clouds. So I think it also depends on the time of year, what you're trying to do. So are you trying to throw streamers? Are you trying to get into a certain hatch? Like,
clouds protect you on the still days though. Like if it's a still day, like, and it's cloudy, that's honestly almost ideal. You know?
So I think it's also, when you come into plan your day, it depends on what you're planning for, right? Like, so if you're planning for night fishing for bass, moon's going to be the thing. That's going to lead your sort of design of your trip. Right. If you're planning for a stillwater day, it's probably going to be wind and weather first, and then if you're planning for like I'm trying to hit this hatch on the falling limb, or I'm trying to hit like blueing olives, like I want it to be cloudy. I want there to be clouds in the sky at some point during the day, because I know I will see those bugs.
I think clouds are the only thing that's always a positive.
Yeah,
clouds are always good, unless I take that back. Saltwater fishing, clouds are not
fishing,
good.
You hate them. I mean, carp, you love them.
Carp with clouds,
blanket clouds, yes. Patchy clouds, no.
Carp with clouds is good if you figure out the game, because it's harder to see them, but it's way harder for them to see you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could sight fish with clouds, you're an advantage. But the problem is with anything, it's like where you could see a fish 30 feet away. Now you're like, oh, maybe there's a fish there, and you get up there, and it's like, you're like, son of a gun. Yeah, it was right there, right in front of my eyes.
Yep. Cool. So I think it's a bit of a personal preference thing for everyone. From my perspective, it comes down to what you're trying to do. Like, where are you fishing? What are you trying to accomplish during that fishing? Is there something you're trying to get out of that day other than just like, I want to catch fish? Like, I want to hit this from my perspective. So, cool. Thanks for everyone's questions. Let's get back to the flies. All right, fly number 4. Rick?
The Clouser minnow.
Ooh.
Perennial favorite.
The holy grail of flies.
Oh.
All flies, everything, I think.
The Clouser.
Shall I start?
Yeah. Why don't you start with a little Clouser talk?
Again, Clouser minnow for me, the warmwater game, I don't do it nearly as much as like a Rick or a Barry or some other guys at the shop, but confidence. So I would depend on my confidence. So Clouser minnow, I don't have the skills to know like, hey, I'll catch this bass on this fly. I'll catch carp on this fly. I'll catch crappie on this fly. I'll catch pike on this fly. I'll catch all of those things, hopefully on a said Clouser minnow, so.
Can confirm.
Very. If I'm going somewhere where there's like a super exotic fish, let's say tiger muskie or a fish, something like that, but I know there's other fish in there, in my head, I'm like, I don't really have a chance at the grail, the heart of fish.
Of 10,000
But
casts.
if I go and catch 4 bass and like see a tiger muskie chase, like that's a pretty good trip for me. Like that's a good.
What if you
point,
just caught that tiger muskie though?
Turns out sometimes that's how it plays out.
How many casts did you throw for tiger muskies before you caught one?
When I was targeting tiger muskie specifically, like going to a lake and being like, I hope I catch tiger muskie here. It was probably about 15 casts.
Rick, how many casts does it normally take to catch a tiger muskie?
The math for muskie is 10,000. Some would argue that tiger muskie, particularly in Colorado, would be somewhere in a little harder, even the equivalent of like 20 to 25,000. Tanner did 15. There's a pretty big mathematical discrepancy.
What fly did you catch that thing on?
About a 2-aught chartreuse Clouser minnow.
Oh, goddamn.
And I mean, the thing that I think makes it all the sweeter for Tanner is it wasn't just a tiger muskie; it was the tiger muskie.
Right. It was a sweet tiger.
It's a pretty good one.
Sure. Yeah, it was like.
We'll put the picture up right here. It's pretty good. Pretty good. 15
luck
casts
prevails,
in.
And it's like, and now I'm like, well, do I like try to prove that it is a fish of 10,000 casts, or do I try to prove that it's a fish of 15 casts? It's like
you always hear the story of like the guys that like catch a permit on their first water trip, and then the next 10 it's just like brutal and skunk.
Right. Well, and we were down there, and there was the conventional guys that we saw finally catch one that next night, and they had fished the night that me and Scott got there a little bit, nothing, and the guy was like
his first one.
It was his first one, and he's like from the town that we were fishing. He's like, it was my first one, 38 incher, and he was like amped up. He was like, have you guys got any? I was like, well,
I don't want to brag.
It's first time down here and got one, on a fly
first
pole.
Night, 15 casts with a fly rod.
With traditionally musky flies are, I don't know, 10, 12 inches. His little Clouser.
It might have been a little bit bigger than that, but it wasn't much.
It wasn't a big Clouser.
No.
It was a bigger for a Clouser minnow, but not like a.
Well, since we're doing all the math, confidence plus Clouser minnow equals
40-something inch.
Yeah. It equals whatever you want, I think.
Yeah.
Equals a successful fishing day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even when we've gone to the salt, like we don't salt fish a ton, but it's like Clouser minnow.
Right.
I probably got more.
Didn't our very own Scott Batista catch a mahi on a Clouser minnow?
From the beach.
Yeah. I've got my sheep's head on a fly on a Clouser minnow. Like, they're like, oh, those things don't eat anything. They spook. I was like, well, maybe it will eat Clouser minnow. Sure as hell.
Right. There's something in that fly, man. It's a magical fly. It's not a complicated fly. It's got weight, and it looks like a fish. It looks like a smaller fish.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's something magical in that.
Smaller fish.
Right. They make a practice of it to get bigger.
And another one of those flies where you create all the action. So you give it all its, you don't have to fish it one set way. You can do any fly that you can.
Long strips.
You can long strip, kill, dance,
twitches,
fast strip. Like, and it's going to just dart all around and do different stuff at like different retrieves like that. Those are flies that I want. It's not like no one fishes a Clouser minnow just cast strip. I mean, maybe
you can for wiper.
You can
as fast as humanly possible.
Right. But it's like if you're not like stuck like, oh, if they're not eating the Clouser minnow on a fast strip, like you're toast. Like you can try, like you can strip, kill it, dance it, pick up a walleye around some structure. Oh, a crappie ate it. Like,
Chartreuse is also a noted successful fish catching color.
Red is also very confident for me. I don't know why.
I like the white and gray.
White and gray.
The white and gray shad color is.
See, that's the one I've like tried to fish. I'm like, man,
that's
like,
your
looks
Kreelex.
so good.
That's your version of the Kreelex.
Like, I've caught some fish on it, but not as many as you would think. And then it's like, oh, put red on. Oh,
it's not his version of a Kreelex because he's actually caught fish on it.
True. Kreelex is like the.
It's Yvonne's olive streamer.
It's your version of my olive streamer. Fair enough. Fair enough. Just confidence is key. Yeah.
But then Tanner goes and smokes everything that swims on a Kreelex. So.
Yeah. And that's sort of like the bastard stepchild of the Clouser.
It's just like the bastard stepchild of any. It's a lure.
It's a little bit of a spoon. But look, spoons catch fish. It reminds me of my youth when I was tossing spoons out. So I always have confidence in that.
Yeah, when I was younger, what did you catch your first like fish on? Like, oh, probably something like a flashy being retrieved back. You know? It's like, hey. Now you just do that on a
when I had like five
lures,
and I was just like, these are the ones I got. And I usually cast the spoon.
Carp will be caught. We're gonna catch a carp on a Kreelex. That's how Rick's gonna break his Kreelex curse.
On a carp.
That would be epic. Actually,
I feel like there's a place to do that.
Yeah,
where they cruise.
It's got to be on the DSP.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It doesn't count if it hasn't been DSP fish approved.
Damn. All right. I mean, that's all order.
Do it the hard way or no way.
Yeah.
I respect that. Nice. Cool. So that's fly number 4. Fly number 5. What you got in that box?
Kevin Warlock's carp breakfast. They also eat it for lunch and dinner.
Nice.
Is that a dad joke?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Kevin Warlock is a really well-respected guide in the Beaver Island, Lake Michigan scene. He catches insanely giganto 30-pound behemoths on all kinds of
Aren't you going up there this year?
I wish. Not this year. Someday.
So you guys...
We're going to be...
we're going to Michigan.
Oh, you guys... Okay, yeah.
We're going to see Mike Schultz. It's pretty cool.
Try and catch some small jaws and maybe a muskie.
I'm trying not to think about the phone call that we had with him where he was talking about the different options that we had. And
dude, you got to do smallmouth.
Well, no. I mean, we're doing smallmouth. But it's like, how do you want to catch a smallmouth? Do you want to catch them like their permit off of the backs of turtles or something like that? Or do you want to catch them like with poppers? Yeah. Or do you want to catch them late at night? And I was like, and he sort of was like, we could do all 3 of them in one day. I was like,
I think our response is going to be yes.
Mike, what do you want to do? Because we'll do that too.
The muskie, knock the smallies out and then do like a dedicated like muskie full day.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Michigan is essentially like my version of Nirvana. It's warm water heaven, warm water paradise. They have pikes and muskies and carps and walleyes.
Shout out to Michigan. Shout out to Michigan as a state.
We're very excited to go there.
Yeah.
But anyway, Michigan flies work here in Colorado too because they're good at catching warm water fish.
Right.
The carp breakfast is again going to be similar profile, lead barbell eyes. Normally I'm not a fan of colored lead eyes, but I really like these ones. I really like the yellow version because you can track it really well and see where your fly is. The big reservoirs out east, they eat it. They eat it in the river. The smallmouth eat it. Bass eat it. Everything eats it. Yeah. It's a good fly.
It's fishy.
It is.
The chartreuse, though, you know?
It does, and it moves. The duck, the mallard, it flutters.
Yeah.
In carp fishing, you're not stripping the fly. You're not moving it a ton. So materials that move on their own, flex and undulate, those are important. So this is a really good one.
That's big. That's big knowledge right there. Yeah. That's good. That's like good knowledge. And colored eyes.
Borderline. Did you just say that was a fact?
Yeah, I think that was a fact. Colored eyes, red. Can we all agree if the eyes are going to be colored like yellow or red?
The other thing I wanted to mention.
I disagree.
You disagree?
The other thing I wanted to mention before you guys get into this, and we'll get Rick's take on colored eyes. I'm going to point to one of these corners, and we're going to put up the Reading Water carp video that we did with Rick, and then also the drag and drop presentation video that we did with Rick. So for the question that we had about carp fishing, I think that's the drag and drop technique's probably like the thing that unlocks carp fishing for most people, especially around here. So we're gonna do that, but get to the colored eye debate. Let's
all colors except for red.
And you?
Red and yellow eyes, and like to the point, like if I cast and I look at one of my red eyes
and
it's
been
like
chipped,
dinged, I'm like,
yeah, I hate it chipped.
Is this worth a change?
You're not a red eyes fan?
Not a red eye guy. Not for carp.
Yeah.
Other things, sure, but carp, red is no bueno in the eyes.
Huh.
Why?
Yeah, is there
a reason?
Is this like a Rick Mikesell research-based reason, or is this like
This is just
a
feeling
refusals.
Okay, yeah.
Which is
people are always kind and they give me
that is research.
And when I get one with red eyes, I always try it as is, and I get refused, and then I take a black Sharpie and black out the eyes.
Huh. But you're okay with it in other for other species?
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think red eyes are great for other species.
Right. Love red eyes.
Feels sort of like I'm damn.
I hate
me. But,
I hate green
what's
eyes.
the guy who eggs on the bull with the big red? What's that guy called?
Matador.
Matador. I feel like a matador with the red eyes. Like, come on, get this.
Yeah. You know you want to eat that?
You eat this thing. It makes you mad.
Yeah. Green eyes. I hate green eyes.
I mean, green's a terrible color.
It is. Awful.
I'm wearing green. Shit. All right.
This hat is.
Wrap it up with our 6-pack, which actually is our 11-pack.
Yeah, our butcher's dozen.
Yeah. Oh, no, our used car salesman's
Why don't we say meteorologist dozen?
Yeah.
We were very...
Yeah, meteorologists. There's not many of those, so they're probably not watching this.
Right.
There's a lot of used car
We're
salesmen.
going to get a
Some
big hate mail package.
angry written letters.
Yeah. What if we get like 9 News' meteorologists? Like,
just as long as you put them in the comments, it helps with the YouTube algorithm. So
yeah. Thank you all for your friendly and unfriendly comments. There's no such thing as bad comments.
That's true.
You know? We enjoy them all. You know?
Yeah.
We find
I enjoy a negative comment.
We find humor in the negative comments more than you probably wish that we did, which
That's
is
true.
Fortunate for us.
Right. It's because we're so funny.
Hilarious.
All right, fly number 6.
Back on to positive since I'm glass half full Rick today.
Yes.
Dude, I love it.
Let's talk about our good friend Barry's carp fly.
The B-Man.
Barry Reynolds. So Barry is Barry's the reason that we're talking about carp right now.
Right.
Barry and Brad back in the 80s, they figured out you can catch them on a fly. And we're all really spoiled that we get to hang out with Barry on the weekends and learn from his infinite depth, deep well of knowledge. Barry's been doing it longer than all of us. He's been doing it better than all of us.
He's the pro.
He knows a lot.
Yeah, he is the pro.
Barry's the only person that can be like, I'm going to go catch a smallie in that pool. I'm like, dude, we've all fished it. None of us have caught anything. You're going to, and he'd be like, yeah, I got 3. You're like, You're like, look at these pictures. You're like, dude, you were out there for like 4 minutes.
Right.
You know?
The pro.
Barry can backhand cast into a 40-mile-an-hour wind to a fish in current
over those mountains,
while I am trying to pull out of the bush still because I'm stuck because I'm such a shitty terrible caster.
Right.
And he'll just
in comparison to Barry, you're a bad caster, but aren't we all?
I mean, there's everybody else, and then there's Barry.
There's levels to this shit.
But anyway, Barry is on that level in fly tying as well, and this is his carp fly, and it's very simply named because it is the carp fly.
Yeah.
This was the first production carp fly that came out that really worked well in the river. It had heavy barbell eyes.
Yep.
It looked kind of like a crayfish. It looked kind of like a leech. It had lots of the maybe factor, but it was heavy enough to get down in the current of the river. And fish ate it then, and they still eat it now. And when nothing else is working, in still water, in the river, wherever, the Barry's carp fly probably will catch them.
Wow. Do you know what hook that is? Because that hook has that bend that just looks so darn buggy.
Yeah, so the problem is that nice bend is the 200R. Yeah. And we've talked about this with our pals at Umpqua and their Tiemco sourcing. We need a 200R heavy or a 200R extra heavy. Yeah. Because the 200R is a beautiful hook. The carp breakfast is tied on it too. Yeah. It's got that nice back bend. When it sits in the substrate, it pops up.
Right.
It's not the most burly hook when you get a super hot fish into current and you have to put the wood to them. Sometimes it can straighten out.
Yep.
The hook quality has gotten better, I've noticed over the years, but if they're going to run, let them run.
Yeah. But 200R certainly does make that bug profile look like extra buggy.
Extra buggy.
Yeah. It has that it factor when you look at it. You're like, oh, that's something.
Barry being such a smart guy, he put a little orange thread on the head. So even though it's a muted color bug, it's a fly that they'll eat when they're kind of spooky, you still have a tracking point with that orange thread.
Yeah. Shout out to Barry. This is true. Noted. Noted fact about carp fishing: you have to see the eat, or maybe guess that the eat happened, but that's a much lower success rate.
Every once in a while, you'll get one that kind of pulls back a little bit, and you feel really, really good that day.
Yeah. Sometimes when the water's off color, you just sort of like, I think he whipped his tail to the left. I'm going for it.
I'm setting.
Yeah.
It's happy tails. I mean, they drop on your fly and they do that little wiggle of the tail. Yeah. And 6 times out of 10, it's clean in the mouth. The other 4 times, you just miss them completely.
Right.
It's pretty rare that you ever foul hook them that way.
Yeah. Cool.
Hook sets are free.
They are free. Yeah, no one's charging for those.
Nope.
All right, cool.
That's how I'll make my carp fishing money. I'll start charging for hook sets.
Yeah. I'll keep a tally.
Yeah.
Sir, that is your 18th hook set of the day. $5 a hook set.
Yeah, $3 a piece. That's
hook sets are no longer free.
Yeah, hook sets are no longer free. Not under my watch.
Hook sets free in this economy?
Yeah. Are you sir? We drove to this river.
Right.
Gas is $8. All right, cool. So thanks very much for Rick for joining us from his land of spreadsheet hell, and also the copious amount of times this man spends on the water. I mean, you were out there fishing last night, fishing the day before. Man spends a lot of time warmwater fishing. So if you have any questions in the shop, always give Rick a holler. He's always happy to talk about fishing.
Please call
in the
me
warm
so
water.
I can not write another order.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, as always, Tanner, thanks for coming on down. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Bro, hey, man, appreciate it, bro.
Go Avs.
Yeah, go Avs. Okay, bye.
Okay.